Hi, I'm Sal Salvador, and I'd like to welcome you to my first Hot Licks video. I guess a little background would be in order. I started in the music business in Springfield, Massachusetts, where I was fortunate enough to, work with Joe Morello and Phil Woods, and we were all just a bunch of kids at that time. And we used to get together and rehearse and practice and pick up on all the latest things. There was also a piano player involved. His name was Hal Serra, and a bass player named Chuck Andrus, who later played with the Winter Herman Band, and Hal is in New York arranging. After that, I went to New York when I figured I maybe had a chance at it. And I met a lot of the luminaries at the time who were very helpful. I met Chuck Wayne, who fed me at times, Mundell Lowe, who got me started working and playing in New York, John Collins, who was the guitar player with Nat Cole later on, who was also very helpful. And I got to study some with Harry Volpe, who was a great reading teacher in New York. And then I hooked up with Johnny Smith, who became a very good buddy and also my mentor. And we're good friends to this day, and so are Joe Morello and I. Knowing him through the years has been a real experience. He's probably one of the greatest drummers I've ever met. And so, anyway, right after that, I got lucky and went into the Stan Kenton Orchestra. That was between the 50 and 55. Things seemed to run in 5-year increments. When I left Stan, I learned a lot in that band. It was like going to a music school. And right after I left that, I got into the ABC studios and did some freelance work at NBC, CBS, Columbia Records. There was a lot of work in New York at that time. It was all before it moved out. Then in '60, I started my own big band, which I had for 5 years. We traveled, and sometimes we didn't work, sometimes we did, but it was a great experience. In about '65, the jazz business started to slow down a lot, and I was very fortunate in being able to play for singers and read the books and things like that. So I spent about 5 years playing with people like Steve Lawrence, Edie Gourmet, Robert Goulet, Johnny Mathis, Sarah Vaughan, Pet Clark, Tony Bennett, just to name some of them. And there was some jazz work at that time. I was lucky enough to be with Sonny Stitt's quartet. I had my own group with Bill Evans at one point. And, well, just a whole lot of jazz work at the same time. After the Singers, about '70, I went into the university program, the jazz studies, where I stayed for 20 years. And that was an experience in itself. And got a lot of records out, done 20 albums. I've got at least 15 books out. And now I have this new group, Crystal Image, that I work with a lot, and I work with Mike Giordano as a duo. So that takes us to this point. Some of the things I'd like to cover are, chord substitutions, comping, and eventually get around to soloing and the general things, all of the things you have to know to be a professional jazz player or studio player. In the beginning, I'd like to cover some of the fundamentals. I assume that most of you will know how to construct the scale and the chord. But let me cover this one thing. The major scale, say if you did it in C, if you wrote a C major 7, C, E, G, B in order, and then you wrote the C scale from each one of those notes, you would get the chords that are contained in that scale. So the first one would be C, E, G, B would be C major 7th. The 2 chord D minor 7th. The 3 chord is E minor 7th. The 4 chord is F major 7th. 5 chord is G 7th. The 5 chord is always a dominant chord, either in the major harmonized scales or the minor harmonized scales. The 6 chord is G minor 7th. A minor 7th, sorry. A minor 7th, the 6th chord. The 7th chord is B minor 7th flat 5. Sometimes deplorably called B half diminished. And the 8th chord, of course, is C, major 7th. Okay, so I'll be referring to those as a 1 chord or a 5 chord, and I'll play the 2 chord, and so on and so forth. The first thing is that 3 minor 7 and 6 minor 7, in this case in the key of C, the 3 is E minor 7th and the 6 is A minor 7th, can be used to substitute for a C major 7th chord. So when you have a progression like G7 to C, you can make that a lot more interesting by what I did was play D minor 7th to G7, which is a 2-5, and then instead of going back to C, I went to the E minor 7th. Which created a 2-5 from D minor 7th to E G7th, and a 2-5 from E minor 7th to the A7th, to D minor 7th, to G7 to C. Now, the reason for using the E minor 7th in that case was to keep the harmony from landing on a C and then doing this. The trick sometimes is to keep the harmony from landing back on the root, especially if you're going to go to a root chord again. So there, instead of you have now, if you were to take a progression somewhat like that and add the A minor 7th, which is another substitute for C. So now instead of C, G7, you use the 6. Play the C, the 1 chord, and then the 6th chord, which is A minor 7th, and then D minor 7th to G7. That's 1, 6, 2, 5. Now, if that occurs twice in a row in a song, you could make a change there by utilizing what I just said a moment ago, by going 1, 6, 2, 5, then 3, 6 dominant, 2, 5. So that... and that changes the color of the chords. Mike, play the original 1, 6, 2, 5 twice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's use it with the E minor 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we come to the dominant 7th. When you have G7th for a whole measure, or 2 measures, you can use the 5 minor 7. I'm keeping everything in the key of C to make it simple, but later you should take all of this information and do it in the cycle of fourths. Do it in every key. Okay? So instead of G7th for 2 measures, the rule is that the 5 minor 7 of the dominant equals the dominant 7th chord. That would be the 5 of G being D. D minor 7th equals G7th. You could use it in front of the G7th or after the G7th, or in place of it. Now, in this case, instead of having G7 for 2 bars, or 4, you can put the 2 in front of it, the D minor 7. And that gives you bass notes changing instead of all the time. I did want to mention also that in jazz or almost any professional that's not in a specialized kind of music, the general run of studio work, jazz work, singing, playing for singers and things, we never use a plain major chord or a plain 7th, plain dominant. Major chord can be a major 7th, a 6th, 6/9, almost anything, major 7th, flat 5, major 9th. Dominant 7th chords can be 9ths, 11ths, 13ths, flat 9s, sharp 9s, and all of those combinations. A minor is strong enough to be used by itself, but if you like, you can put all the same additions onto a minor chord that you've done on a major. A minor will play well with a minor 6th, a major 7th in it, a 9th. Almost anything that happens to a major chord can happen to dominant and minor. All the extensions and alterations. You have to be a little careful with the major chord, but it works. So the next rule I'd like to cover would be the flat 5 dominant 7th equaling the dominant 7th. If you have a G7th chord, the flat 5 of G is D, D flat. The 5th of G is D, and the flat 5 of G is D flat. Therefore, you can use a D flat 7th or 9th, 13th, whatever, in place of G7th. When you have a progression like 2/5, D minor to G7 to C, your bass line is going in fourths. If you use the flat 5 substitute, which is a D flat 9th, your bass line goes chromatically. Now, just as the other things are flexible, the additions to the chords are flexible, so are things like this. You can be in the middle of a tune, and instead of this happening, 2/5/1, it can be 2 to the flat 5/1. And it won't bother the soloist at all. He'll work around that. And, well, let's try it. 2/5/1, 1, 2, 3, 4. One other thing I wanted to mention is any chord that has a flat 7 in it is a leading chord, and anything that has a major 7 in it will stop the harmony. So you can only use those in a progression when you're either ending the progression or for a special effect. Almost anything can be done for a special effect. If it's bad enough, you can amuse your friends, but if it's good enough, you can be out playing with people. Now, another rule is that at times you can use the 4 chord, 4 dominant or major 7th in place of the 1. Sometimes in a progression such as when you have a G chord for 2 measures, you can change that to G and a C major 7th for the second measure. Or you could use a C dominant. Okay, here's a progression that go 1, 2, 3, 4. You could also use the C dominant there. Another little point that I'd like to mention is very often when you see something on the music that says F minor 6 to G 7th, the F minor 6 is a misspelling. The bass note doesn't really lead to G, so it is misspelled. The same notes, but using the D in that chord in the bass, gives you D minor 7 flat 5 to G7, which is better than, that doesn't flow as well. And in between these kind of changes, you can use chromatic chords. The chromatic moves can be used above or below. So even if you're playing straight rhythm as in the regular rhythm tune, or in comping, when you're leading to a minor chord, let me see if I can make this clear now. When you're leading to a minor type chord, anything with a flat third in it, you should alter the 2 chord before it. So, especially if you're leading to a minor chord, you should, instead of D minor 7th to G 13th or G 9th to C minor. That's not really a nice sounding move. But if you altered the 2 and then altered the 5, see, that really leads nicely into the minor. The flat 5 sub would work as well because that puts altered tones into a G7th. If he should play a G7th and I play a D flat 7th, it'll fit together and make altered tones, and that leads into minor. Going into major, you can use either just plain extensions or you can use altered tones as well. Although if I'm leading to a major type chord, I usually, if I'm going to alter the dominant, I'll usually play the 2 chord as a regular minor 7th. One other thing you should know about is that in all of the standard tunes, a lot of them anyway, most of them, you'll be changing diminished chords into 7th flat 9s. They're richer, the progressions are better. For instance, if a tune calls for a G diminished, the 4 notes in that chord are G diminished 7th, by the way, if anybody wants to pick it apart. The 4 notes in that chord are G, D flat, B flat, and E. So the way you get your flat 9 chords is to take any note in that chord and lower it a half step and use it as a root. So you take the G in the G diminished chord, lower that a half step and put it in the bass, and you have a G7 flat 9 chord. And then if you take the D flat and lower that a half step and put that in the bass instead of the G, you have a C7 flat 9. Take the B flat in that chord and lower it a half step and put it in the bass. Now diminished chords repeat themselves up the neck. So I'll move it up here and take the B flat, put it in the bass, and I have A7 flat 9. And then if you take the E in that chord and lower that a half step, you have E flat 7 flat 9. Now those chords sometimes work nicely in progression just like the diminished chords do. Now you can put a 13th into that as well and it has a nice sound. Now, having talked about the 1, 6, 2, 5 progressions, I'd just like to give you an example of how they work. First in major. 1, 2, 3, 4. As I mentioned before, whatever you can do to major, you can do to minors. So now, here's a 1, 6, 2, 5 progression in minor, which would be C minor, A minor 7 flat 5, D minor 7 flat 5 to G7 flat 9, or the flat 5 subs or whatever happens to come up. But basically, that's what the progression is. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes the student will ask me about, well, why do I have to have so much information? Sometimes it'll have to do with chords. Sometimes it'll have to do with technique, single lines, reading. And one of the things, the analogies I like to use is, it's like if you have a small, very small amp, and you have to play in the higher situation, and you have to put that amp up to 10, you're going to sound pretty bad. But if you have good equipment, a larger amplifier, and you can turn it down to 3 and still get that same volume, well, your sound is going to be that much better. Well, the same goes for the better you're equipped musically, the better you're equipped to handle all kinds of jobs. The better blues player you'll be, the better jazz player you'll be, the better whatever. The more you know, the better off you are. Now, I'd like to start talking about comping a little bit. The old big band thing was to comp with straight rhythm. As the scene started to change and Charlie Parker came on the scene and things like that, the rhythm sections got looser. And if somebody's going to play that way now in this kind of a scene, it'll tighten everything up and just get in everybody's way. But the only band that's been able to carry that off anymore has been the Basie Band. Freddie Green was the champion of that. But outside of that, it just gets in the way. So you need to be a little looser. And one of the questions that I'm asked a lot is, how do I get started comping? Well, you can start by basically using the Charleston beat. Now, if you use that behind anybody that's soloing, that would be much better than playing straight rhythm. Play a little straight rhythm, like use the 1-6-2-5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's use the Charleston beat behind that. Just stay with the Charleston beat for a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now you loosen up and use a combination of things behind it. See how much better that feels. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd like to play a tune combining some of these things, the 1-6-2-5 in major. It's an original tune called Delighted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a tune that has to do in minor 1-6-2-5. B buddy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now you got an example of, Mike and I comping for each other on that first tune. There are many ways. For one thing, if you're playing for a cabaret singer or a Broadway type singer, for some reason or other, they must always have the melody played while they're singing. I guess they may depend on that. But in a jazz type situation, any of the great singers, they just want you to accompany them. And a singer without a lot of experience may want you to lead her into every chord change. You have to contend with that too. But a singer such as, Annette, who sings with us, is a total pro, and she likes to paraphrase and play around with the melody and phrase it the way she likes. And she does this on this tune that we do together called Love You Are Here.
I've turned my back on the past. At last I found you. Love's mystery disappears. Your smile, your laughter so bright. My heart's all aglow with delight. Oh, I'm so glad that we met. Please don't forget me. Our love will always be right. I was only a of all my dreams seemed always past that cloud in the sky. But now you've chased all my fears. No sorrows, just happy tears. You brought romance to my life. I'm yours forever. Love, you are here. You are here.
With a singer such as Annette, who is a pro, and any of the other real professional singers, as I mentioned before, you've got to let them take the lead and follow them. As in all kinds of comping, whether you're comping for a horn player or a rhythm section, a rhythm player, whatever, meaning bass or piano, you've got to make sure that you compliment them. Listen to what they're doing and play to help them to maybe fill in a spot, or sometimes make it a little exciting for them for a moment or two. But don't just go trying to show off how many chords you know. That's okay at home for the family, but not out on the job. You'll get thrown off the gig most of the time for that, or they won't call you back. So listen carefully, follow them, and if you give, you have to give to them, and if you do that, you'll get a much more inspired performance from them, which in turn will inspire you. And remember that, it's well and good to know all the tunes and all the chops and all the fancy stuff, but if you're out there as a working player, you're going to be playing chords and comping about 70% of the time. Your solos are few and far between, even if you're the leader. You get your spots in the sun, but that's it. The other time you're comping for somebody else. And another thing I might mention is there are a couple of common bridges to tunes, middle sections of tunes. And for instance, in the key of F, it would be A 7th, D 7th, G 7th, C 7th. Now, I played those with added notes, of course. The A 7th could have 13ths, 9ths, flat 5, sharp 9s, flat 9s. The D 7th could have same thing, flat 9s, sharp 5s. G 7th, the C 7th. Then you can also put the 2 5s before that, or the 2 chords before the dominants, and use a chromatic move. Flat 5 sub. I'll see if I can put that into action. Would be like this. Now, utilizing some of the other things. Now that bridge occurs in a lot of tunes, and so does the other one known as the honeysuckle bridge. That from your F chord would be F7th to B flat to G7th to C7th, and the same thing would apply. And that would be Okay, I believe that's about all the time we have for this tape. And so we'd like to kind of play you out and leave on a little happy note if we can. The happy note being that this tune is called Or Else.